Hello YouTubers and welcome to the video. Right, today I want to talk about my experience with a budget scope. Now this is just my experience and I'm not saying that everyone is going to have the same results. Now generally speaking, when you talk about scopes for air rifles, the more you pay, the better you get. That might not always be the case in some people's opinion, but generally speaking, the cheaper you go, the more likely you are to have problems. The more you spend, the better quality glass, and generally they're more durable and live up to their reputation. That seems to be the norm from what I can tell. So this is what happened to me. I went for a Milbro budget £50 scope. Came in an absolutely lovely box, nice and solid with foam inside it. No complaints with the box whatsoever. Nice picture there and picture of the reticles and all the usual stuff. Very snazzy indeed. Now then, the scope. This is the second one. The first one went back. Why did the first one go back? Well, first of all, the optical wheel at the front, where you adjust it to get the sharpness of image on the reticle, it wouldn't open. It was jammed shut. In fact, it was jammed so tight I was convinced it didn't exist and that it was actually just there for show. I just couldn't get it open. Eventually, with brute force and ignorance, I got it to move, and it was evident that there was a huge burr of metal or something, grit, whatever it was, inside the tube, because there was a horrible grating, scratching noise, and there was a great big scratch on the inside tube. So that wasn't very good. That was the first problem. The second problem, the magnification wheel didn't work at all. Basically, I was turning it, and every so often the magnification would shoot in and then shoot out, and then nothing would happen at all. So the mag wheel wasn't connecting and it wasn't working. So it went back. Two big problems with that scope. This is the second one. Illuminated reticle seems to be working fine, although it is a bit bright even on the lowest settings. The magnification wheel is working. The optical is working. I put it on the gun and I fired it and it seemed to be doing the trick. And then this little metal sleeve at the top that gives you the yardage on the parallax came loose. It came off of its sticky and went jangling down the gun, and every time I fired it, it jangled down the gun and I had to keep pushing it back on. So I've stuck a bit of super glue on it. Now some people told me I was mad and I should have sent this one back and got my money back, twice bitten and all that. Yeah, but I've decided to persevere and see what happens to it. So I've had to super glue the yardage ring on the parallax adjustment, and this is the second one. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put it on my Remington Express, and let's see if we can zero it in. Let's fire a few pellets and let's see if it can hold zero. Because one thing a lot of people do say about budget scopes is they're not very good at holding zero, especially on recoiling springers. So let's put it to the test, shall we, and see how it gets on. I'll pop it on the Remington Express, I'll set the camera up, and yeah, we'll do some target shooting and we'll see what happens. Right, let's get stuck in. Okay, so there we go folks. Now as you can see, my zero wasn't spot on, and I'll come to that a bit more in a second, but there's a few pellets in that cluster and a couple a little bit lower. That's actually not bad. I could pretty much get that under a 5p piece, maybe not quite, but certainly very, very close. And that was despite the challenges of the Milbro scope, which I shall now conclude the video by explaining in a bit more brief detail. Okay folks, so there's the results with the Milbro £50 all singing, all dancing, parallax adjustable IR illuminated reticle scope. One thing I will say before I say anything else is I had trouble zeroing the first one, the one that had to go back. I did get it to a position where it was workable, and I did put a few pellets through with it on, and I couldn't get zero to hold. And at that point I'd already lost confidence in cheap scopes for holding zero, certainly on recoiling springers and for any serious work. Another couple of points: the illuminated reticle is very bright, and actually the settings are brighter than what they were on the first one that went back. So there doesn't appear to be any continuity scope per scope. This one is not quite as bright as the first one, but they're not the same. There doesn't seem to be any continuity there. A bit hit or miss, it seems. And the other thing I will say is the amount of glare and misting when you look through the optical is pretty poor. It's okay if you point this thing at a clear blue sky and it's just looking at one level of light. It seems to give you a lovely clear sight picture. But unfortunately, if you if you're shooting like I do down at the back of the garage and you've got a clear blue sky above a kind of darker target area, it's just as though the glass really can't cope with trying to work out the light. I can only imagine it is the glass, because it doesn't happen on my other scopes. It's just, if it does, it's fractional, but on this it's really bad. And it's not to do with the position of the scope, it is something to do with the glass and just the way it tries to, it just tries to cope with the light. So I guess that's what to expect from a £50 scope. So my experience is, would I buy that kind of price scope again? No, I wouldn't. I would save a bit longer and a little bit harder for something with a better reputation. Right folks, I hope you found that helpful. And until the next video, stay safe, look after yourselves, and we'll see you soon.